Hello, everybody. This is the OU Daily Sports Podcast. This is a first. My name is Jason Batacao, and I'm hosting today's podcast. Colton let me do the honors today, so I think I'm pretty special. I have climbed the ranks in OU Daily lore. Colton, how are you doing today?
Pretty good. I apologize. It's a little spotty. Even though we're like next to each other in rooms, I'm not really sure what is going on with the internet, but doing good. Lewis is out today, but it feels like forever since I know we potted last week, but just excited to get back to the grind this week. Bye weeks are always good, but ready to get back at it. So
Yeah, we got a decent amount of stuff to talk about today. I mean, UCF obviously this week. Gus Malzahn has some OU ties. I mean, he coached Dylan kind of for a year, even though Dylan was injured that year. I guess we can hop into the first thing. I mean, what are you expecting out of UCF this week?
yeah, Jason. I mean, just I think the biggest tidbit I'm expecting from UCF this week was on Monday when Gus Malzahn during his weekly press conference came out and announced that John Reese Plumlee will be healthy and available, to play the Sooners this weekend. I think that's really the big thing. Like UCF, a lot of people thought they would be pretty decent going into the season. Started 3-0. People were started to notice. And then they dropped 3-0 in the Big 12. And I think a big part of that was just John Reese Plumlee not being fully healthy. And so I think, Gus Malzahn's always going to pull out the bag of tricks. I mean, we saw that going back to his time at Auburn. I mean, he was always, you can always look up, highlight competitions of, Gus Malzahn's trick plays. But yeah, so I expect a little bit of that. I expect a high, potent, powered offense. John Reese Plumlee is a good player. I mean, he's played a lot of football. So, but obviously, the storyline is Dylan Gabriel playing his old team. So, which I think you'll get into here a little later. But yeah, I expect some points to be scored. I mean, I think it'll be really interesting to see if OU's defense, keeps up its consistency of late.
Yeah. I think Brent and you really touched it on the head there. I mean, Gus Malzahn's offense is going to have a lot of trickery. I think they're what third or fourth best rushing offense in the nation right now, or maybe it's the Big 12. But my stats probably are wrong. But
Something like number six.
yeah,
I think it's like number six nationally and like something like that.
yeah, something. But yeah, I mean, another test for OU's defense. I mean, I don't think it gets any bigger than Texas. What that was 2 weeks ago. Wow, I'm getting old. Um, but yeah, I mean, you really touched on everything. I mean, OU is just having the same mindset they've had all season of trying to go 1-0 and everything. So, I mean, I think it'll be another challenge for OU. See if they're going to be complacent after a big game against Texas, a big win against Texas. So we'll definitely see how they perform and how prepared they come out, especially with some injuries. But yeah, you kind of touched on it there for a bit, but I think the biggest storyline for this game is Dylan Gabriel facing his former team. I mean, you know, transferred after I think it was 4 years at UCF. Obviously, coming to OU was pretty pretty much a foregone conclusion for him. I mean, Jeff Lebby's here. That was his former offensive coordinator there when Jeff Lebby was at Ole Miss. I mean, he even visited there, so it just makes sense. What are you sort of expecting um, against from DG facing his former team?
Yeah, I mean, Dylan Gabriel's been in the news a lot the last 2 weeks, obviously, with that game-winning drive he had against Texas. I mean, you have Kirk Herbstreit on College Game Day, calling him one of the Heisman favorites. So I'm not quite sure if he's up there yet, guys, but or Jason Lewis isn't even here, but I think
Guys,
I think Dylan coming off such a really the biggest game or moment of his career. I think it's just going to be interesting to see, if he continues. And I think that's what a lot of this, you're probably going to hear us say that a lot tonight on the pod, but like, I think you're at this halfway point. OU's had a really good season, 6-0. I think a lot of it is just continuing to get better and just keeping the train rolling. And that's harder to do than, we're just us here talking about it or even them talking about it. I mean, we see a lot of really good teams and we've seen it at OU throughout the years. And I was talking about it with Lewis last week on the pod. Like it's really, really tough to go undefeated. So I think with Dylan, it's really cool that he's playing UCF, obviously. I mean, UCF fans, I think, are going to see a much improved Dylan Gabriel. But it's just going to be a fun matchup, I think. A very unique one. Obviously, UCF's first time playing OU in the Big 12. So, but Gus Malzahn, Jeff Lebby, I think it's going to be a pretty cool game. At Dylan, I think he's going to play really well. I think it's for him. It's just about continuing to get better.
Yeah, and kind of focusing on that improvement. I mean, Dylan's taken a massive jump this season, and I'm actually doing a story on that, and this podcast will be out by the time that story is out. So if you're listening to this podcast, go listen or not listen unless you want to listen because there's the little audio feature on stories, isn't there? Um, go read my story. It'll hopefully be good. But yeah, I mean, Dylan's made a massive jump this season. I think his numbers compared to where they were last season at this point were, I think they're pretty different. I haven't done too much of a deep dive on that, but he just looks different as well. I mean, so much more calm, so much more free in the pocket. He's making all the right throws. Decision making is crisp. I mean, what he did against Texas, I don't think he would have been able to do that at any point last year. Just really impressive stuff. But you got anything else on DG facing his
Yeah,
former?
I think Yeah, you touched on it. And I don't know if like it's statistically like he's taking a huge jump, but like you're gonna get to in your story. And I think, our listeners and readers will be very interested to learn is that mentally he's taken a big jump and all the stuff he did throughout the off season to, prepare his mind for this season after a disappointing season last season. And you're really seeing that. I mean, you mentioned just his calm presence in the room at practice, when he's talking to the media on social media. It's just he seems like a guy that's very dialed in and not that he wasn't last year, but you just kind of see an enhanced focus. I mean, he was very disappointed with last season, as we all know, and he's you still see him miss throws. I mean, he hasn't really changed his technique all that much, but I think mentally he's taken a huge jump, and I think we've seen that on the field and his leadership and leading this team to be 6-0.
Yeah, the thing that interests me most about him is his leadership style is unlike any good OU quarterback that I've seen. I mean, it's very calm, it's very poised. It's kind of like I don't know.
Well,
It's
Jalen Hurts is like that,
yeah, but Jalen Hurts is more like I don't know. Dylan,
very quiet.
yeah, very quiet, but like very like job's not finished. Like it kind of reminded me of Kobe in a way. Like if Kobe was a
Yeah.
football player, I think it'd be Jalen Hurts, if I'm being honest. But Dylan just got like I don't know. It's something different. I can't put my finger on it, but it's like Hawaiian sort of vibe to him. It's really chill. Like
He's very chill. He's very laid back. But
yeah,
Dylan Gabriel is a huge, huge reason why this team's successful right now.
yeah. Well, we could go ahead and move on. Lots of stuff from media availability this week. Big topic of discussion was Jacob Lacey and sort of his journey. Um, what'd you hear this week from media availability and what Brent Venable said this week, Colton, just about Jacob Lacey?
Well, you wrote about him, so I think you can take that one. I'll briefly just touch on it. I mean, we had heard over the summer that he was dealing with blood clots, in the spring and the summer. And the biggest thing that stuck out to me today was Brent just like telling us the severity of it.
Yeah.
Basically, like he didn't think he was going to ever play football again, which is, pretty crazy. And to see him go out and have a big sack against Texas, and then to read what you wrote today about what Steve Sarkisian said about that play in particular is pretty interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it's just one of those really scary stories. A freak injury, or I don't even know if you'd call this an injury, just a freak accident, or I don't, it wasn't even an accident. It just something bad happened. I mean, he had blood clots in his leg. He said that he started feeling pain. And then he was like coughing up blood on his flight because he was going to his friend's graduation in South Bend. And then he was in the ER at 3 a.m. and the doctor told him he wasn't going to be able to play football anymore. And here he is now, performing on a big stage. So really interesting story. Good for him that he's able to be back out on the field and everything. I can't imagine being in an ER at 3 a.m. and them telling me I can't do my job anymore. That'd be pretty sad if I'm being honest. So yeah. But let's move on to some injury updates. Brent really said that he's really happy with where the team's at in terms of injuries, besides the ones announced last week. Obviously, Andrell Anthony's out with the season. Did we get specifics on what that injury was, or did he just say it was season ending? I don't remember seeing anything about that.
It
Um,
was one of the knees.
yeah,
That I think.
something knee injury. Savion Bird still. Brent was weird about that today. Was he still dealing with something? Um, Savion?
So yeah, Brent Venables. Yeah, so Brent Venables provided an update on a few injuries today during his weekly press conference. I mean, the biggest one, like we talked about last week on the pod, McCade Matauer, who was carted off the field on during the Texas game. Brent went on a podcast earlier this week and said he'd miss a week or so or a couple weeks, and then we were out of practice today. Didn't see a brace on McCade or anything like that. So I think McCade will, be back sooner rather than later. And then you mentioned Savion Bird. I mean, with McCade out, with Savion dealing with what he's been dealing with the last couple of weeks, we've really over the bye week, really were trying to come up with who's going to start at each guard spot. Brent basically said today that we're going to see everybody. We're going to see. He did confirm that Savion is ready to go and available. That doesn't necessarily mean he's going to play because of Caden Green, who's Lewis wrote about this morning. You can go read it on OUDaily.com.
Yep.
Super talented guy. I mean, he's a freshman. He's doesn't have a lot of experience, but his talent just flashes when you watch him. So Caden Green's a guy that could fill in there. And then obviously with McCade's injury, Caleb Schaefer is a guy I'm looking at to start at right guard. I mean, we talked to him tonight. Brent talked about him today during his press conference, and it just seems like Caleb Schaefer's gonna be penciled in there, and he played pretty well when he got time. But Troy Everett's another guy that's played a little bit at guard, so we'll see there. But then the other couple injury updates Brent gave. We've talked about running backs a lot on this pod all year long, and just the staggering number of backs used and the inconsistency there. Brent said he is hopeful that Javonte Barnes will return. Obviously, big talented guy who we all expected to start this year. I think he's only appeared in 3 games, so hopefully that's the case for him. But then also, Brent said he feels really good about the corners. Makari Vickers, Josiah Wagner, Kanai Walker, all will be available. So,
Yeah. Thank you for filling in that injury update. I kind of lost track of who did what and so forth. So,
what I'm
I,
here for, man.
yeah. Colton's our you're like our sideline reporter for OU football. You just kind of have all the deets. I passed it over to you on the sideline. But yeah, I guess we can move on to some more interesting things. Lots of interesting stuff happening over the bye week. I guess we could start off with Danny Stutzman and his NIL deal with the Texas quote that he said after the game. What was it? It was like God, or Oklahoma fears only God, but Texas fears what, like Oklahoma or something like that. I
Oklahoma.
yeah, 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 yeah. Riveting quote for OU fans, you know. So I'm sure they're eating that up, but he ended up making it into a t-shirt, and he posed with Brent Venables in a picture, a sort of a selling point. So very interesting stuff. What was your thoughts on that, Colton?
Yeah, I mean, really cool. Um, Obviously the shirt is dope with the cigar and
Yeah.
everything like that, and then the quote on the back. We got him talking about it a little bit after practice tonight. He said, obviously how cool NIL is for players and just the opportunity it creates. And that was a perfect opportunity. I mean, his speech went viral. It's just a like no brainer, honestly. And we've seen a lot of players come out with shirts similar to that after the Texas game. I think Jalil Farouk has his own. I know we're going to get to Dylan and all the NIL opportunities he's been taken advantage of, but we jokingly asked Danny after practice, how are the sales going, and he didn't necessarily have those numbers on the sales for the t-shirts, but um, just a really cool opportunity for players to capitalize on their name, image, and likeness, and what a perfect one that pregame speech was from Danny.
Yeah, it was really interesting. And I know you mentioned Dylan Gabriel's uh, stuff that he's done with NIL. Obviously, in the past, he's donated a lot of his NIL funds, or I guess money that he's earned from his name, image, and likeness to high schools in Hawaii, to his local community. What happened this week with Dylan Gabriel and all Dalen NIL opportunities that you've seen?
Don't remember exactly. He came out with another shirt, I think,
Yeah,
but yeah,
lots of
no, it's just
shirts.
cool to see. Yeah,
Wow.
it's just cool to see all these guys, take advantage of that, and it's only going to grow. I mean, the win over Texas is huge, but imagine if Dylan goes to New York as a Heisman finalist, or this team goes to the college football playoff. I mean, Danny Stutzman is a personality. He was on Pat McAfee over the bye week. But lots of personalities on this team. I just think it's the coolest thing that they finally get to, you know, uh, use that to their advantage.
Yeah, I feel like we should get our own NIL deals as journalists. Kind of want to like create my own T-shirt just with like me and your face on it. I think we should do that. Do you think people would buy that?
Who would buy that?
I would.
You'd buy your own T-shirt?
Yeah, I just have a like circulation of income, It's like a well,
Danny said somebody asked Danny if he buys other players NIL shirts and like wears them under his jersey or something. And he was like, the only NIL shirt I buy is every General Booty merch drop.
oh God, that's
So
scary. Those those ads are something else. They're not PG-13 if you ask me. But
anyway, Jason,
anyways,
um,
anyways, let's move on to some more interesting stuff that happened over the bye week. Lincoln Riley and USC suffered a pretty jarring loss to Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman finally got that signature win, but things aren't looking too hot in SoCal. What were your thoughts on that game?
yeah, I mean, you and I watched most of it together, and I mean, we talked about it last pod. I mean, I think our TikTok's blowing up. The little clip of me and Lewis talking about Lincoln Riley and USC. I mean, we knew it was going to happen at some point. Taking what was it, Arizona to three overtimes, and almost blowing a game to Colorado, and what was the other one? Arizona State. I just that game just it was I picked it. I mean, it was obvious. I mean, going all the way to South Bend, playing in the rain and the cold. It was just a game of disaster for that. And you could say what you want about the defense. We talked about last week. Defense is terrible. But the offense is what really has struck me the last couple of weeks, Jason. They just look out of sync. I mean, Caleb Williams, as good as he is, as amazing of a player and amazing plays he makes, he threw three bad interceptions
Yeah,
against Notre Dame. And, that offense just hasn't looked in sync over the last month. And something OU fans are used to, not very good defense under Lincoln Riley, and then dropping a game mid-season, that you probably should win. But just I don't think things are going really good right now in Southern California. I don't
no.
think that's the last game they lose. I think they lose two or three more,
Hmm.
just based on how strong the Pac-12 is this year
Yeah.
and just how bad that defense is, man.
Yeah, I saw. I forget who tweeted it, so I'm sorry if I'm not giving the person credit, but they tweeted. They said Caleb Williams is doing his best Dak Prescott impersonation, and I thought that was really funny. Um, I mean, yeah, you kind of hit it right on the head. USC's offense bad, defense stinky, nasty, not good. Um, I don't know how Alex Grinch still has a job. I mean, after all the stuff that happened at OU and how terrible those defenses were, and now USC, I mean, somebody's got to do some sort of investigative work on that. I mean, insane. I mean, the amount of tackles that defense misses, I mean, it blows my mind. But yeah, you really hit it on the head. Another inconsistent performance. I think, yeah, like you said, USC loses 2 or 3 games, 2 or 3 more games, honestly. Don't think they beat Oregon. Don't think they beat Washington. Do they face Oregon State at all? Because I'm picking Oregon State over them if they face them. So,
I'm not
um,
sure. Let's go through the schedule real quick.
yeah, it's looking bad.
So they got Utah. Oh, wow. They got Utah this Saturday, which
That,
they lost to Utah twice last year.
yeah, that's a loss.
Then they got Cal, and then they play Washington, then they play Oregon, then they play UCLA, which UCLA's defense has been playing pretty good.
Yeah,
Um, I think they lose 2 or 3 more, man.
yeah, looking tough. Hey, man, maybe Lincoln Riley finally goes to the Cowboys. Maybe that happens. I mean,
I
Caleb Williams.
think, I mean, you're sorry, talking about Alex Grinch. I mean, that seems to be the thing people point to, and it's just baffling because, like, I mean, yeah, maybe like I don't know what it is. Going back to his days at OU, it's just like I don't know if the message isn't getting across to the players, or the players are just playing poorly, or the game plan's just bad. But I just think that Lincoln Riley, I feel like he's going to have to take a step back at some point. He's a great coach. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he wins football games. He wins a lot of football games. Um, Crazy statistic. Just go look at his overall record. His first couple years being a head coach. He hasn't been a head coach that long. Wins a lot of football games. I think the way he coaches, I think he's going to have to take a step back at some point and readjust. I don't think the way he coaches right now, and puts together a team can win a playoff game or win a national championship. I just don't. And I think a lot of that starts with how he manages. I mean, he's the head coach. I know he doesn't call the defensive plays, but that's on the head. That's on the head coach, personally. So, but yeah, with Alex Grinch, I just don't know if the message isn't getting across, or what's going on there. But it seems to be a consistent problem, even going back to the OU days, as OU fans are well aware.
Yeah, I really want to try out the Alex Grinch or even their special teams routine. I don't know if you saw the videos circulating on social media. It's like the punt returners, they're just like getting sprinkled with like water, and they're like, uh,
Yes, it was to simulate it was to
the
simulate
rain.
the Notre Dame rain. It was a water hose.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely
That
want to try
that
that.
didn't work. That didn't
No,
work.
I don't think it worked. I
All
think
right, all right, all right. Enough of making fun of
yeah,
Lincoln Riley. Unless
yeah.
you had one more thing,
No, no. I was just saying that
we got to move on.
feel like I could do that. I could pass that test. I'm a future punt returner.
Oh,
But
oh yeah, hire me, pay me $1 million a year to hold the water hose during the
yeah,
drills.
dude, let me do it.
But
But anyways,
Jason,
what do you
sorry, I think the connection's bad.
yeah, I keep like losing you for a bit. You're like a frozen little person on my screen. Anyways, um I guess we could move on to rest of the season predictions. What do you see happening with OU?
Well, I was just gonna say real quick. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear.
I was gonna say, I mean, another head coach that came from OU that's not really playing that hot. I mean, Shane Beamer at South Carolina. I mean,
Mhm.
dropped another game to Florida. I mean, what are they now? 2-3, something like that. Spencer Rattler looked like he was going to have a really good season over there at South Carolina, but
Yeah.
and obviously Shane Beamer, I think he went 7-6 and 8-4 or something like that. I think he saw or 8-5. I think he saw improvement last year, and a lot of people thought that they would make a big jump this year, Jason. But season not starting out the way Shane Beamer and Spencer Rattler hoped over there in South Carolina.
Yeah, they've looked bad. I don't know what else to say about that. I mean, Spencer's just not making the right throws. Offense is inconsistent. I think their defense is worse than it was last year. Yeah. And Shane Beamer has been really spicy with the media lately. I don't know if you've watched some of the clips that he's had.
Oh, has he? I haven't seen that. He's usually a really nice guy.
Yeah, he's or maybe I misinterpreted it. I just came across a clip. He got kind of spicy with somebody, but I mean, that happens as a head
But
coach.
anyway, we can do predictions. Sorry, I just wanted to throw that in there.
No, no, you're good. You're good. I appreciate it. Where you see OU going for the rest of the year? See them ending up in Pasadena? I hope so. I want to go to Pasadena so bad.
Are you asking me?
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm asking Lewis, the ghost of Lewis Razor.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about it a little bit on last week's pod during the bye, just predicting the second half of the season. But OU should win the rest of their games. They're going to be favored in the rest of their games. Do they actually win the rest of their games? I'm not 100% convinced. I'm about 60% convinced, I would say. I mean, like I said, it's hard to go undefeated. It's hard to win on the road, and OU has two really tough road games coming up at Kansas and at Oklahoma State, I think. Um, I'm not buying Zoom Pro, so we have 9 minutes left, but
Yeah.
um, I just think I just think that I'm not I won't believe it till I see it. There's something just weird about this, beating Texas, but then maybe having to see them again in the Big 12 championship. And I know we talked about it all weekend, but does OU okay, I'll throw it out there. Say OU goes undefeated and loses to Texas in the Big 12 championship. Texas's win in the Big 12 championship obviously is more impressive than OU's because they avenged their loss. It's closer to the playoff selection. I think, and I could be wrong, Jason. You could stop. I mean, you never want to lose a game, but I think OU either has to go undefeated and beat Texas in the Big 12 title game, or I think I don't know. I think OU, if they lose in that game, even though they finished 12-0, I think it's going to be really hard with all the other teams out there. I mean, just think about it. We'll go down the list. I mean, you have Georgia and then maybe Alabama still out there. It's two SEC teams. You got three Big Ten teams that are currently undefeated. I mean, that'll work itself out, but you never know. Ohio State and Michigan could jump in there as well. Like two Big Ten teams.
Oh no, you froze.
That's five teams. There's five conferences, and one team's going to get left out. And if OU goes undefeated and loses in the Big 12 title game, I don't think they make it. So I think they're going to have to win that game. Lights out, I guess, Jason. But do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. I think that say I think if OU were to lose one game, it would have to be during the regular season, but you have to beat
Agreed.
Texas.
That's kind of what I was getting at. You never want to lose a game, but I think OU, if they lost, say they lose a close road game in the regular season, that's gonna like. And I'm not saying that OU is gonna get complacent because I think this team's different. I think Brent Venables isn't gonna let that happen. But just say they lose a game on the road, that makes them more. And they're gonna be up for Texas. I don't know if this is true or not, but I kind of agree with you. I think if they run the table and go undefeated and happen to lose a close game in the Big 12 title game, I think they're better off losing in the regular season and winning the Big 12 title game. Just
Yeah.
no matter what, I think they have to win the Big 12 title game.
Yeah. The only path to making the playoff I could see if they lose the Big 12 title game is say like,
Texas has to have 2 losses.
yeah, Texas has to have 2 losses, and
Florida
then
State or Washington has to
they have
have
to
a
lose.
loss or 2.
Yep.
A lot of things are going to have to happen if it's
Yeah.
that way, Jason. But got a little time crunch here.
Yeah. Zoom
Just going
Pro
to
is
throw a couple of things out. I mean, just a couple little nuggets. OU obviously played an 11 a.m. kick against Texas. They're playing an 11 a.m. kick this weekend against UCF. They're playing an 11 a.m. kick next weekend against Kansas on the road. Jason, I saw a stat. It was something crazy earlier. It was like since 2012, and I'm going to get the stat wrong, but it was numbers similar to this. It was like since 2012, Alabama's played 6 11 a.m. SEC games, and it's something like OU's played like 33 Big 12 ones or something.
Yeah.
I am so ready for the SEC 230 kick. Then another thing I was gonna jump in here and say, Jason, let's each go on our toughest game remaining on OU schedule. You go first.
Oh, I would say the Big 12 title game, but that's not penciled in, so you
No,
can't.
regular season.
Okay, okay. Man, honestly, I think it's Provo. Like I think either Provo or Kansas, but I'm gonna say Provo because that's November and Provo, Utah. It's gonna be freaking cold.
I'll be there. I'm looking forward to it. I won't lie.
Yeah, I'm jealous. I want to go to
I'm
Provo.
gonna go. I think, and people are gonna probably roast me for saying this, and people are gonna think it's crazy, but I kind of think it's at Oklahoma State. I
Yeah, I
kind of
could see
think the
that.
last Bedlam, OSU's playing a little better. Seems like they found a quarterback in Ellen Bowman. Obviously, OU is going to be favored. Obviously, OU should win, but it's at Stillwater. It's tough to win any road game, let alone a rival game, let alone a rival game where the next season one team is leaving their rival for another conference. I think this game's going to be a lot of fun. The build-up's going to be crazy. But watch out. I think that's a game. Obviously, OU's the better team. OU should win, but I think that's a game that people should watch, and people are gonna think I'm crazy for it. But I think that might be the toughest one remaining on the schedule. Real quick, want to plug a story I'm working on. I'm really excited about it. Don't want to give away too much, but um, Brent Venables 6-0 in his first year as a head coach, had the biggest win of his career last week. So I thought I'd reach out to some of his old pals from his past, know him best, know how to coach football, know his journey, talk to him day to day. Been watching him this season, watched him come up as a coordinator, and are some of the closest people to him in his life, and some people that I think you guys are going to be interested in to see what they have to say. But I talked to Bill Snyder, legendary Hall of Fame coach from Kansas State, but I also had the pleasure to talk to Dabo Sweeney by phone for about 20 to 30 minutes on Monday, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy this story. But here's a little bit of Dabo Sweeney. Just a little preview of Dabo on Brent.
Well, I just think the biggest thing is just not panicking, not flinching. Just staying the course on what he believes is right, and I think that resonates to everyone. That's something I learned a long time ago as a player watching Coach Stallings when I was a sophomore player at Alabama. He comes to Alabama, a new coach, and we're coming off an SEC championship, and guess what? His first year, we start off 0-3, and and at that time, little do you know, we'd go on to win 70 games in the next 7 years and win a national championship. So, but what I learned at that time was what I've tried to always live by, and certainly what I've seen in Brent, and that is, when you're convicted on something, you're going to have ups and downs, but when you really believe in what you're doing, you have to stay the course, and and that's the biggest thing. I think he's got great conviction in what he believes, and what he wants it to look like. We've had a lot.
All right, that was Dabo Sweeney. If you want to hear more from him and Bill Snyder, go to oudaily.com. That story should be dropping on Thursday morning. So if you're listening to this on Wednesday, come back to oudaily.com tomorrow. Jason, it's that time. UCF predictions. Go for it.
I didn't really think this one through, so I'm just gonna throw something out there. Let me think. OU 52 to 5.
Oh, brother. We're
And
back on the weird predictions, aren't we?
yeah, I've felt like doing it. I don't know. It's been one of these days I'm gonna get one
52
right.
to 5. That's a blowout.
Yeah. I think
Okay.
it's 52 to 5. What's gonna happen is Gus Malzahn's gonna call the wishbone on the 1 yard line, and
All right, Jason. All right. I'm gonna go 38 to 10. I think OU's defense continues to play very excellent against even a Gus Malzahn coached offense. I think Dylan Gabriel is clicking on all cylinders right now. I think he's playing really hot. Same with the defense, and I expect OU to roll past UCF. Man, after that, it's a gauntlet. To me, Kansas, West Virginia, and Oklahoma State are the 3 games to really circle. But we'll talk more about Kansas next week. Jason, sorry I took over the hosting a little bit. We got 1 minute left on this Zoom.
yeah, you
But,
predicting 5 safeties? 5 times 2 is 10. Where's the
No.
5 safeties gonna come from?
I'm not. I'm actually predicting 2 field goals and 2 safeties. So
Oh, wow. Okay.
But we're out of here. Jason Batacao, Colton Sulley. We're gonna go write some stories. Check us out on oudaily.com. Follow us on social media, all that jazz. But we out. Appreciate you guys.
Peace.